Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate you going out of your way to comment, subscribe, and like. That really helps me out a lot. Put some more eyes on the channel, so that is much appreciated if you did that. Now let's talk about these late season cold fronts, because this really messes up the whole spawning thing. The big females are just not going to push up. Why are they up there? And how do you catch them when they are not going to bite your typical spawning baits like a Texas Rig Senko or a Texas Rig soft plastic creature bait? So real quickly, I'll give you a scenario here where you may have water that's in the 60s and you may be thinking fish are coming shallow. And you're right, they are coming shallow. But the main thing when fish want to spawn is moon phase and water temperature. Now, 60s is very warm water. If you have a consistently warm couple of days when the water's in the 60s and the moon phase is right, you are going to have a big push of females come shallow. Those are the biggest ones on the lake. Those are the ones you want to catch. And these baits, Senko, creature bait, they're going to crush them. I mean, they're going to flat out catch them. Unfortunately, what tends to happen when you have a couple nights in the 40s, those big fish just aren't going to get up there. If you have 60-degree water temp, you may be led down the path of thinking, this is going to go down. I'm going to catch these fish fishing slow, and I'm going to catch those big females. But what tends to happen is you will get males, and they will lead you down the wrong road. You will think there are a bunch of fish, and there are, but they're mostly all going to be small. You really got to get lucky to catch one of those big females when you have cold fronts this late in the year. Anytime that you're going to catch a big bag on these baits, it's going to be a warming trend, and you're going to have the correct moon phase, and a bunch of big females are going to push up. Unfortunately, those times are extremely rare because of how much fishing pressure we have. So if you have that situation, and it's on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, by like Saturday or Sunday when the tournament rolls around, those fish are going to be gone. So you need everything to work out perfectly. I mean, you need the moon to align perfectly, and you need the weather to be right on par. And if it's not, that's not going to happen. So how do you catch those fish when there's females close, but they're just not locking in? Now, a chatterbait, my favorite bait to catch those pre-spawners, and a swim jig to catch those fish that are like a day away. And covering water is very key. So these are two baits where you can cover a lot of water. Now, fishing fast is the whole kicker key to this deal. You can't just go fish those 3 or 4 spawning stretches and think you're going to crush them. You've got to run a lot of water, and these baits are perfect for running a lot of water. I like the 1/2 ounce in the chatterbait because I want to keep that bait as close to the bottom as I possibly can. These fish may be in 2 feet of water, they may be in 5 feet of water, but keeping this bait extremely close to the bottom is important because those big females are going to move up. They're full of roe. They got to keep their eggs close to the bottom where all the heat is at. So that temperature has got to be warm for those fish. 1/2 ounce, very important on the chatterbait when you're throwing that. And then the swim jig. Now, this is another one of those deals where water column is very important, but I'm going to keep this up in the water column. Typically, bass are going to want to get on some type of cover before they spawn. If it's a lay down or a dock post or something like that, this is a great bait when you get around cover. Maybe it's lily pads, whatever it may be, but they want to get on something before they spawn. This swim jig, fished fast with a kicking type trailer, very important when you want to catch those fish that are like a day away from spawning. So they're right there, they're close, but they're not going to slow down and bite those other baits. They want something moving fast. So a swim jig. Now, how do I pick my swim jig depending on water clarity this time of year? Now, I like to stay away from the whites. Now, does it take you a couple minutes in practice to throw a white around and see if they're biting white? Does it take you a couple minutes in practice to throw a black and blue around to see if they're biting black and blue? Same thing goes with your brim pattern. So if I'm in really clear water, it's not so much about the color of my jig, it's more so about the size of my jig. So when I'm in clear water, anything where you have more than 1.5 feet, somewhere around 2 feet of visibility, I like a 1/2 ounce swim jig. This bait is going to move a lot quicker. you stop reeling it, it's going to shoot down to the bottom. You can just make this bait move a lot faster. You don't want those fish to get a good look at it. So anytime I'm in water that's 1.5 feet of visibility or more, I'm going 1/2 ounce. When I get in less than 1 foot of visibility, I'm going 5/16. I want to have my bait really in their face, moving slow, and with that lighter jig, I can just keep it there. Moving my rod tip, turning my handle real slow, but I can, if I'm covering a weed bed that's this big, I can leave that bait in there for several seconds. You can't do that with a 1/2 ounce jig. The 1/2 ounce is going to be on the bottom. So this is a bait that you can fish extremely slow, but still give it a lot of action. So dirty water, 5/16 or 1/4, something like that, lighter jig is very important. And then when you get in that clear water, upsize your jig. Now, typically I am going to go with black and blue. I just think that's a bait color that those fish can find better than any other color, but sunny days, post-frontal days, black and blue is not necessarily always going to be your friend. So I'll go with my more natural brim colors, same trailer. I want a lot of kick in action, something that's chartreuse, orange, blue, green pumpkin, all those colors. There's typically brim are going to start moving up at the same time. So it's a real natural offering. But those are my two baits this time of year when you don't have the correct water temp, you don't have the correct moon phase. You will see those baits win the majority of tournaments if it goes down shallow. The Senko, the other spawning type baits, like a creature bait, you'll catch some fish on it, you'll get some bites, but typically you got to get lucky to catch a big one on this when you just don't have the right water temp and the right moon phase. So very important, don't get sucked into the spawn. Those fish are going to be super close to it, but you need to change your baits this time of year when you're dealing with these late season cold fronts. So good luck, try that guys, and I'll see you on the water.